What's happening, FreeGang? We are coming to you live.
But not live.
From our home here in London, where we have had the craziest week
ever.
Yes. We thought we would do an extra video because we have something very special to share. As you can see from the title, Jamie's baby has come early. And we have quite the adventure to share with you today about what has happened over this past week.
Yeah, bit of an emotional roller coaster.
Yeah, and a lot of twists and turns and unexpected things that happened.
As most of you may be aware, this has been a bit of an emotional roller coaster for Jamie anyway. As we shared with you in the summer, she had lost her previous 2 babies, unfortunately. But in that same video, we were so happy to share with you that Jamie was pregnant again and the baby would be born in December. The baby was actually due just after Bob's birthday. Also, a lot of you know this pregnancy has been tough as well. Jamie has a condition which means she is sick throughout her pregnancies, unfortunately.
And what was strange, it seemed to be easing off, and in the last month it came back even worse again, didn't it?
Yeah.
But to bring you up to date with what happened to bring the new baby into this world, it all started, funny enough, on Halloween.
This was completely unexpected. You know, we were going to take JoJo out trick-or-treating and, you know, we were just enjoying the day. Also, we were going to be making a video that day for you guys, but we got a call in the morning. Jamie told me that her waters are broke. Well, she described her waters breaking. She said it felt like she was having a wee, but it wasn't a wee.
Like a water balloon popping, you always describe it.
Yeah, because sometimes you get a pop with the waters breaking. She said no, but she said it just kept coming out. All this water was just coming out of her. I was like, okay, your waters have broken. You're going to probably have your baby today. We're talking 5 weeks early at this point.
Yeah.
So I was a bit worried, obviously.
Yeah, you just dropped everything. We scrapped all our plans for the day and you just went down there because Jamie made it clear when we talked about birthing plans and that she wanted you there. She had planned to have a home birth, but I think with home birthing, the midwife can only come around after 37 weeks.
Yeah.
Jamie was 35 weeks at that point, so she had to go to the hospital, and that's where you met her and Aiden.
The strange thing was, I think it does happen, but I'd never heard of it before, is that Jamie was having no contractions whatsoever.
So they normally go hand in hand, don't they?
Yeah, the waters break and then you have contractions, or you're already having contractions and then the waters break. So I didn't know what to say because I never knew about this. I didn't know this was a thing. I arrived at the hospital expecting the labour to be progressing, but nothing was happening. No contractions whatsoever. They decided to keep Jamie in for observations overnight.
I think they were saying they would maybe give it 48 hours to see if anything changes.
Yeah, sorry guys, it's just been a crazy week, so it's just like hard to recall like everything that's happened. But then it got to the afternoon and Jamie and Aiden on the way to the hospital had dropped Astrid off at her playgroup, and so I went and picked Astrid up, and because Jamie's staying at the hospital, we brought Astrid home with us.
And then when you got back, we were straight out the door for trick-or-treating with Astrid and JoJo.
Yeah, JoJo was dressed as a Jedi. Astrid was dressed as a little witch, wasn't she?
Jamie had plans to take her out like she has done previous years, and she didn't want her to miss out. So she tried to weigh up things, realised things weren't progressing, so you being there for a birth wasn't likely to be needed, but she really cared about Astrid having trick-or-treating. And so yeah, she came, had some fun with us, and then stayed the night.
So Jamie was kept in hospital for 2 nights and Astrid stayed with us, and still there was no labour progressing.
They were just keeping her in for observation, and when it came to Saturday morning on the 2nd of November, they hadn't seen any progress, so they sent her home.
Yeah, and I was really worried because I thought once the waters break, like, what's the baby in? She's not in any water anymore. So I was like, I just never heard of it. But apparently the baby makes their own amniotic fluid.
Smart baby.
Yeah.
So we take Astrid home Saturday afternoon back to Jamie as she's home with Aiden. However, Saturday night about 10 o'clock, we get another call from Jamie.
So she'd had a light show of blood, which could have indicated a problem.
And I think she called up some labour advice line or midwife's advice line, and they said just go to the hospital.
And so Aiden's mum then went over and took care of Astrid
Was in bed, but it was just to be there during the night in the event that she woke up. They kept Jamie overnight. Then the next day they decided to keep her in for a bit longer for observations because she was still showing that light show of blood and was getting some kind of contractions, but it was nothing consistent. They would come and then they would go away, and then she'd get a few more and then they'd go away. So it was very uncertain what was going on. Meanwhile, our other daughter, Amelia, went to look after Astrid for all of Sunday, 3rd of November. And Jamie was kept in another night. Again, Aidan's mum then kept an eye on Astrid overnight.
Let me just say, luckily, Astrid was having a great time.
I know.
With this.
She was having all these different relatives look after her.
Yeah, and she's so loved. Like, she just loves playing. So she wasn't bothered by anything really, was she?
No, she was like having these new friends to come round and play, wasn't she?
Yeah.
And then Monday, the 4th of November, is when things really started to speed up. Jamie had called us saying that contractions seemed to be happening quite frequently. And strangely enough, Aidan's parents were actually due to go on holiday that day. They tried to get in a very quick holiday before baby was due to be born.
We were actually going to do the same thing.
I know.
We knew the baby was due in December, so we were thinking of going away in October. Do you remember?
End of October, November, yeah.
But we didn't end up going.
And so at the very least, we had to get over to Jamie and Aidan's house for the Monday afternoon, the 4th of November, to at least take over from Aidan's mum as she gets ready to go on holiday. However, as we're on the way there, we get a call from Aidan who says,
"You have to come to the hospital now. She needs you now. She's calling for you now." And I was like, okay.
We were about 10 minutes away from Jamie's house, and bear in mind, Jamie's house was about 50 minutes from the hospital. So Katie dropped off me and JoJo, took over from Aidan's mum looking after Astrid, and you got straight in the car and just drove there.
When we got that phone call, she was 2 centimetres dilated already.
Right.
And I just knew it was going to be quick from that point. I just knew, because...
Nothing like that had happened up to that point. There hadn't been any significant progress, had there?
Yeah, and the doctors had said that when it happens, it's going to be fast because the baby's going to be smaller. And it's her second, and the second baby's normally a lot quicker as well. When I had Sam, I was in labour for 3 days.
Yeah.
When I had Jamie, it was like a few hours. Done. She was out. So I arrived at the hospital around 4 p.m. and Jamie was having very strong contractions. She was very hot, and I've always got cold hands for some reason, and I was putting my hands on her face, and you could tell she just really liked the fact that I was doing that. I helped her get control of the breathing, because when you've got someone guiding you through breathing, it really, really helps. And I remember my mum doing it with me when I had Sam, and I remember how much it helped. So yeah, we were just breathing together. She was doing so well, and at one point the midwives wanted to put a IV in her arm. But Jamie has really bad veins when it comes to IV, trying to get an IV in.
Well, even when she tried to donate blood, they couldn't do it, could they?
Yeah, she went to donate blood when she was 18, I think. Yeah, and they couldn't do it. I think they got it in, but they couldn't get much out. Yes, it's always been the same. And in the end, they were trying, and then she just said to them in the end, no, the baby's coming, And it was so funny as well. At one point she said, can I have a epidural? Because it was so intense for her at that point. She was handling it really well, but you know, it's so painful.
And you just want it to be over.
Yeah, and Aidan and I just looked at each other, and because she said beforehand it wasn't what she wanted. She didn't want to have an epidural. I knew there wasn't time for an epidural, because at this point her contractions, they were about a minute apart.
Right, so it seemed very imminent.
Yeah, and she started to make this noise like that, like she wanted to push. She even said, I want to push. I said, Jamie, it's really close now, it's really close. She was wanting to stand up. She didn't want to lay back on the bed or anything like that. So she decided to go on the bed, and she went on sort of facing the other way, like she was leaning. They put the bed up, and then she's leaning like this with her arms. And that was the position that she felt most comfortable in. And there was, I don't know, it felt like about 4 contractions. And then she started to push. You could hear her, and Aidan was being really loving and really supporting, like he was right next to her all the time. And you know, the midwives were just doing all their stuff down this end. I just had one hand on her. Then all of a sudden you can see the baby's head.
Well, you communicating to Jamie because
I can
obviously
see you're crying already. This is the first time I've spoken to you in detail about
what happened in the hospital.
Yes, yeah. And they said, oh, the baby's got dark hair. So that's when I knew, like, they could see the baby's head coming. And she said, is the baby's head out yet? And we said, no, not quite, but we can see the baby's head. Yeah, it was just a few more contractions. And then the baby came, the baby's head came out. I saw her, and as soon as her head came out, I looked and I said, oh, that looks like Astrid. Like only her head was out and I could see she looked like Astrid already. She just opened her mouth as well, so I knew she was okay at that point.
Because they had expressed, when Jamie's waters broke, they had expressed some concerns saying, this is very early, 5 weeks early, and it's better baby stays in there to carry on developing. The big concern was, would her lungs be sufficiently developed?
Yeah.
And you said baby's head came out and you heard her cry.
She opened her mouth. No sound came out, but she opened her mouth. Oh, because that's the point I forgot to mention, is that these doctors, there were about 3 doctors in the corner of the room with this setup where they would put the baby to try and resuscitate her.
Just in case.
Just in case, because she was so early. They were all ready to do their job in the corner. There was a bit of time in between, and then she had another contraction. And then she pushed the baby out. And it was, honestly, guys, it was so beautiful because I've never been there. I've been the one having the babies before, but I've never been there. And we were just crying so much. It was just, it was just so beautiful.
And when she did come out,
she came, and then Jamie pulled the baby up through her legs, and then she started crying straight away. She started crying. She was absolutely tiny. She was just like, the
size of like an adult shoe.
Yeah. And she's perfect. She's beautiful. Yeah. She's strong.
You know, sometimes babies come out and they look a bit battered.
Yeah.
Like JoJo did. He came out, he looked like a purple monster. But she came out, she looked so delicate and pure and beautiful, yeah. I mean, the pictures I saw afterwards anyway. But you said that she did have a little cry. Because that was one of the first things I asked you when you called me. Because she was born at 4:59 and maybe half an hour or so later you called me. And I was like, did we hear her cry? And she said yes. And I was like, good, that means her lungs are strong.
Yeah.
Because obviously that was a concern. Because when JoJo was born, he took a while to cry, like a worrying amount.
Yeah.
To the point that we all just paused. They took him over there. He swallowed God knows what inside you because he'd been in too long. And it was all bubbling out of his nose. And they were shoving stuff up there and hosing it out of him. And then eventually you had this, and he was like, thank goodness. So that was in my head with regards to what they said about the little baby's lungs developing, and I was like, if she cried, that means they're strong, and so that was good.
Yeah, Jamie did so well. She did so well, and Aidan did well because he was supporting her the whole time. He was sobbing.
Big emotions, eh?
Yeah, it was, what an honour that was to be there at her birth.
Your baby having a baby. Oh, there we go. Just returning with tissues. So as you can imagine, it's been an emotional journey for those guys, and it didn't all end there because baby was what turned out to be just over 4 weeks early. They decided to keep her in. They wanted to make sure she started gaining weight. Jamie was able to breastfeed her, but only via a syringe because baby's head and mouth was too small to suckle, wasn't she?
Yeah, she wasn't really small. She was £5'4".
Yeah.
Like, there are tinier babies than that. But still, yeah, because she was early as well, she was struggling to latch on. So yeah, Jamie had to use, she had to express into like a syringe.
Yeah.
And then so...
we had a similar thing with JoJo the first day he was born, and I got to feed him through a syringe.
Yeah, because he went into intensive care.
Although he was 9 pounds, he was huge. Sorry to remind you. But yeah, little baby was doing fine, wasn't she? And they had some concerns, didn't they?
Yeah.
About is she feeding sufficiently?
She dodged so much. It was like one thing after another. Firstly, they were thinking of giving her antibiotics. I asked what they were for, and they said it's in case she gets an infection because the waters broke early. And they said there is an alternative that we just take blood tests, and if we see any infection in the blood, then we can give them afterwards. And it turned out there were nothing, so she didn't have to have the antibiotics. Then she wasn't gaining enough weight in the first few days, so they said they were going to put a tube down her throat and feed her like that. But yeah, eventually she did managed to put on a bit of weight. She dodged that. Another one was because she hadn't done a poo. I think that was a few days later as well. She hadn't pooed yet. They were going to send them to another hospital. I'm not too sure what for.
Even further away, maybe where there's a specialist department or something.
Yeah, but then right at the last minute she did the poo.
Yeah.
So she dodged something else.
So she was born on the Monday the 4th of November, and they were given an estimated time to come out Thursday morning. But that was then pushed back to Saturday morning because they still wanted to observe her, wanted to make sure that she carried on progressing with weight gain and everything that they felt was the best for her. And so, yeah, they ended up all staying there the rest of the week, and we had Astrid. We stayed at Jamie and Aidan's for a bit and then brought Astrid back here. So she's been with us for a very fun week. But they did in fact come back Friday afternoon, but they had to go back again Saturday morning, and this was pre-arranged because they had concerns
about jaundice.
About jaundice, yeah. I don't exactly know what jaundice is. I know the skin can appear yellowy orange, but I think Jamie described it as there's a certain level of hormones that are in there, and it's maybe they flush it out or something.
Yeah, the baby normally flushes it out themselves.
Yeah, so it was just to check where they're at, and they took her in Saturday, and they said the levels were a bit worrying, and then they took her in Sunday again, and everything was looking good. And from the Sunday just gone, from the time that you're watching this, baby has been home with them, and they've all been together. Astrid as well. She's very excited to be a big sister. A bit too excited. She wants to hold the baby and do everything.
Yeah, so it's nice because we did visit them in hospital, but it was really nice because we took Astrid home. So we visited them at home as well, and the baby is, oh my gosh.
She's so perfect.
She's so beautiful and she's so tiny. I'm just like, how can a human be that small?
I know. It wells me up every time you're holding them and you're like, I can't believe this is real.
Yeah, it's just such a miracle. Life is just such a miracle. It's just so beautiful. So there's just one more thing to say, and that is to tell you what her name is. It's a very beautiful name.
And this is a name that Jamie and Aidan had thought of and had kind of decided on before she was born.
And they wanted it to go with Astrid because it's another Nordic name, and her name is Ingrid.
It suits as well, doesn't
It's
it? You look
kind
at
of-
her and
yeah.
you're just like,
Oh,
yeah, Ingrid.
Totally. You look at her and she's an Ingrid. I love it. It's like an old name. It feels like a really old name, doesn't it? As well?
It's not that common. It's
Yeah.
nice because it makes her even more unique.
Yeah.
And since being home, all of them are doing well. It's been nice. Aidan's got some time off work to be at home with them all. Ingrid has been feeding frequently and very well, gaining weight again, and becoming strong.
She struggled to feed at first because she was early. It's almost like she was used to being tethered with the umbilical cord, and that's how she got her food. Because she came early, she had to quickly learn how to feed herself. But she knows now. Like I saw her feeding when we went round there, and she's feeding so well. I just didn't expect it to be now. Like I didn't expect this to happen. All my babies have been 2 weeks late. I think Astrid was a week and a bit late as well.
And we've been saying, okay, when it comes to the beginning of December, let's be ready. You know, be ready that you might have to rush down there. We might have to have Astrid here, something like that.
Yeah.
And it'll be an overnight thing. So the fact that this just happened so early and spread out over a week of uncertainty back and forth with the hospital, it's been a very interesting but beautiful time.
Yeah, you guys are wondering how did we put videos out at that time, but luckily we were
filmed
about
stuff already.
We were about a week ahead with our schedule, so luckily it wasn't affected. Like we just put the videos out that we'd already filmed. The only thing is we weren't able to reply to all of your comments.
Yeah, even when we're journeying in the car between Jamie's, we do look at the comments. We're just sorry we haven't been able to get back to every single one, or as many as we normally would like to. But guys, that is this update video that we've wanted to share with you. I hope you've been happy to receive this news as much as we have. We really appreciated all of your kind comments for Jamie and her family throughout this whole journey, and we're really happy, albeit early, to be able to share this with you.
Thank you so much, guys, for being on this journey with us and all of your love and support, and we absolutely love every single one of you, so thank you.
So until next time, make sure you always stay free
and just keep rising.